In this data prep video, it's just going to be short. I'm going to show you how I made the data for today and talk about it a little bit. So you don't have to watch this one, but if you want to, you can. So under the desktop, we've got our data. I made the hillshade and the land from the DEM. And so I'm going to show you how I did that. Drag the DEM in. And if you can remember, this elevation model is just a series of numbers from low all the way to high, and the 0 represents kind of the average sea level or something like that. So what I did actually was I used a tool. This is a raster, and I used a tool called Raster Calculator. We're not going to use this a lot in history, and we're going to mostly use vector tools, but this is the one raster tool that I used, and I said Raster Calculator, and I took this raster and I said everywhere that raster is greater than 0, right? Just a very simple phrase here. I'm telling this tool to say, I've got a DEM, give me a raster that reports the values that are greater than 0, and it's going to give me what's called a binary raster, where there's a 1 for everywhere that's true and a 0 for everywhere that's false. So I've made this expression here, and I want to know true or false. Is the pixel that I'm asking for greater than 0, or is it not? And so when you do that, you're going to, I'll just save it on the desktop for now, but this is my example, and it's going to be my example of land. So I say OK. And that should be good. And so I'm going to say OK. And the tool will run. And from that DEM, I get this. And white is 1. It's kind of showing up as 0.999, but that's OK. White is 1, and black is 0. And so this is actually still a raster, right? But then I knew that I didn't want to have a raster because they're more obnoxious to symbolize. So I wanted to give you guys a vector file, and to do that I took this this binary raster, and I went up to raster and went to conversion, and I went polygonize, which means that I'm going to take the two categories here, 0 and 1, and turn them into polygons, so it will become a vector piece of data. So I went polygonize, example land, yep, output file for polygons, which is going to be a shape file. So we got the raster, and this is the vector. And I said select, and I said land. Let's see, example land again. But this is going to be a shape file, so that's okay. There we go. Save. And I can call it the same exact thing because this is a shape file, whereas this was a GeoTIFF, right? This was a raster and this is a vector. So I don't need to name them something different. It's okay. If I left it blank, I think it would do it. But in general, you want to tell, you kind of want to tell them what it's going to be. And this is going to create a field where the polygons will report 0 or 1, depending on what they are. So I'm going to make an attribute table by checking this field name box here. So that's okay. I say all right. Okay, and it took mine about 2 minutes to complete. If you have a slow computer, you might be careful about trying to hit go on that. It might crash your computer. But it made a vector file, and if I zoom in, you might think, oh, well, I've still got a raster, right? Look at these corners. But it's not to be, actually. It's not, because these are still vertices, and it just traced, this vector file is just tracing the raster, right? So if that's confusing, we can talk about that. But this is still 2 polygons here, and it's just tracing the raster, and so it kind of looks like a raster, but it's actually vector. So that's how I made that land file, and at this scale it kind of came out just fine. It's just for what we needed. But I also, instead of the land, I'm going to remove these, I don't need them anymore. I made a hillshade from this. So the DEM, we could use one more raster tool, and this one you might end up using, see, mine's not turned on, so I actually have to go and turn on my terrain tools. I went to plugins and manage plugins, and I went to installed here, and then it should be, here we go. So this needs to be checked, Raster Terrain Analysis plugin. So you go plugins, manage, and install plugins. If yours didn't show up, for some reason my Raster Terrain Analysis tools didn't show up. So installed ones that are already on the computer that came with your installation, just check that box so that you know you can use those tools. And now I go to Raster, and there my tools are right there. So terrain analysis is usually slope, aspect. There's a couple other things, relief and ruggedness, but hillshade is the one that we'll be using. That's probably the only one we'll use for creating base maps, because it gives it that ruffled mountain look. So I hit hillshade, DEM. That's my elevation model. My output layer, I'm just going to call hillshade. And the Z factor, don't worry about this right now, but what it is it makes sure that the vertical units are the same as the horizontal units, meaning these are in meters of height, and the pixels are measured in meters as well in width, and it allows it so that it doesn't look funny, it doesn't exaggerate anything. This is what matters down here, though. This is what direction is the light going to come from when we cast across a light on this surface. 0 and 360 are north, 180 is south, 90 is east, 270 is west. So we're kind of northwest here. Vertical angle means that how high off the horizon is it. So 0 would be the horizon, and 90 would be the zenith straight up. So 40 or 45 or 50, yeah, that's all pretty good. So those settings are not bad. I say OK. It creates a hillshade for me. Boom, it's done. If you want to zoom in and check it out, it's the same thing that we used. So that's all I'm going to do. If you really want to learn more about this, I have more videos about it, but I don't think it's necessary for our work in kind of the spatial humanities. So that is all I'm going to show you.